Okay.
Okay, go. Hey guys, it's Luke here from Patient Rush, and today I have with me Dr. Richard Fox from LA. Now, Richard's been in practice for over 37 years, so we wanted to get him on here today and extract some of his wisdom for you all. So, Richard, welcome, and thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Hi, Luke. Thanks for having me here.
Fantastic.
This is very exciting.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. It's great to, I think the biggest thing that I sort of feel about business is you can always learn from people who have been there and done that. And so, you've been in business for 37 years, so it's it's an honor to have you on. So, give us a bit of a sort of origin story. How did you get started in the industry and starting your own practice and business?
Well, it's real interesting. I was an architect major when I graduated high school and started college. And we had Vietnam going on at that time. And for me to fulfill my conscientious objector, I had to do 2 years volunteer work in a health institute. And there was a hospital that wasn't too far from me. So I started off as an orderly, and then they needed somebody in the lab for phlebotomy, so they trained me for that. And doing phlebotomy, I would have to go into the emergency room and do draws there. And I got to become friends with one of the emergency room doctors, this phenomenal man by the name of Glenn Woolman. And he watched me go from phlebotomy to becoming a pathology assistant, where I was doing autopsies and assisting the pathologist with that. And I don't know, it kind of seemed natural between having a background in structure and architect and healthcare that life just kind of led me to chiropractic. I didn't even know what it was. But one day I was sitting with my parents, and they said, look, you're married, you're going to want to have kids, you can't be a lab assistant all your life. What would you like to do? And I had a dear friend that was in chiropractic college, and I said, chiropractic. And my mom said, well, that's stupid.
Really?
And I said, well, you asked me what I wanted to do, And so I applied for my schooling over at Cleveland Chiropractic College. There was this incredible woman by the name of Dr. Dorothea Town, and I had her for my first semester. But that day, she had told a story about how she had helped a person with chiropractic, and she ended it with, now you remember, kids, chiropractic is perfect. It's the chiropractor that F's up every time. And she used the actual word. I cleaned it up for your broadcast.
Yeah.
But I knew I was home. I just knew I was where I belonged.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed the schooling and education. And then you get a reality check when you get into practice, because you're trained to be a doctor. And while I was in school, I had turned to my friend who was the ER doc, and I said, can I follow you 3 days, your nights, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and have you show me how to read x-rays? Well, he took me under his wing, and I'd go in with every patient other than rape and child abuse, but learned history, physical exam, lab works, x-ray. So 3 nights a week, I was being bombarded with how to be a doctor, as far as the technical aspect of it.
Right.
But then you graduate and you have all these concepts of doctor is, I should dress this way, I should drive that, I should behave this way,
Yeah.
and it really takes time for you to find out who you are, and to become you, not to become some script or not to become some concept of what you think you should be doing. But hey, this is me, and this is who I'm going to attract. And so that's how I've always maintained my practice.
Nice, nice, authentic.
That's how I got in.
Yeah,
My story about the industry.
yeah, nice. And so over the years, like when you were getting started, and then as you've continued to be in business, what's worked for you to grow your business and make it consistent and
Well,
stable and get it where you
it's
want
interesting. When I started, it was 1984. We had just won the Macmillan case. We were still being very scrutinized by the medical profession because we really didn't have a lot of evidence-based studies at that time. We were just starting to become evidence-based. And I went through a couple of practice management courses, and it wasn't who I was. It just, I think they're great. I think you need to get exposed, work with a practice manager, find out if that's what fits for you. Don't just say, oh, I've done it for 3 months, it's not working. Give it a good 6 months, a year at least, because you're just planting a seed. But my first couple of years was very, very frustrating. And I actually had started my training to become a CCSP and became a CCSP, and knew that we were going to specialize. So it was the very first year that they offered the sports diplomate program at LACC, and I applied to be in that program. And a little bit later, when I was getting ready to kind of say, I'm tired of being a business owner, it's not working, it's not who I am, I saw an ad for a chiropractor wanted personal injury, work comp, doctors need not apply, looking for sports prep. So when I knocked on this person's door, they said, I know you, you're in my sports injury class. And it turned out to be this incredible man by the name of Dr. Joe Horrigan. And Dr. Horrigan, Dr. Mike Leahy, Dr. Gary Blum, and a Heller worker came up with a soft tissue technique where Mike turned it into ART, active release technique. So I'm the second generation of the people that actually created it, and I'm working in this office. And at the time, we were working with 22 gold, silver, and bronze medalists, Los Angeles Kings, bodybuilders up the yin yangs. So it was a very high profile sports injury practice. And I worked with Dr. Horrigan for about 5 years. And then I had a multiple crush injury to my left arm. And they did 2 surgeries to move nerves around in my left arm, and that didn't work. And they wanted to go into my neck. And I said, no, you're not going to do the fusion and discectomy and foraminotomy. And that's when I moved up to northern Pacific Northwest, a little bit north of Seattle. And I was living in community where I would be the doctor for the community, and farming and gardening. And something about working with plants and nature, you and I were starting to talk about how wonderful being in the country is. Really healed. It's really about balance. And that's actually how I go about my report of findings now, is I'm talking to the patient about, everybody has posture. Posture is, how am I maintaining myself in the upright or vertical position?
Mm-hmm.
But society is now creating it where we get this upper cross syndrome. And as long as you're doing that, you're down a path to change my lifestyle or have surgery. So I decided to change my lifestyle. And that's how I relate to my patient. If you don't do this, you're going to get to the top of the mountain. Which path do you want to take? the one
Yeah.
that's going to break you down or the one that's going to lift you up. So, you know, at this stage of my game, I'm not about volume. I'm about balance. I'm about balancing the body, balancing life,
Yeah.
keeping things as far moderation, making sure you have your own enjoyment, whether it's music, art, sports, sitting out in the sun with your AirPods on, whatever it might be. But that's just an important part of health as coming to see us or working out.
Sure. So having that work-life balance and that harmony in your life.
Well, yeah, you know, when I talk to a patient, I'm explaining something to them. And that's another thing that's important about building a practice. If I'm sitting there saying, well, I know you came here thinking I know you thought you came here for pain, but really, you know, here's what's going on with your body, and we could get you out of pain real fast, but we're really trying to prevent you from having these degenerative processes. So I have a program for you that's designed specifically for your needs. And of course, that's where we become the salesperson trying to get the person to understand you need to make changes in your life,
Yeah.
and this is what will keep you out of pain. So for me, it's letting them know that we basically have 4 blocks. The first block is the lower extremities from the feet to the hip joint.
Yeah.
The second block is the pelvis, and how does that balance on the lower extremity? Then the torso is the counterbalance to the pelvis. So if my pelvis goes left, what did my torso do? It went right. If my torso goes downhill, what am I going to do? I'm going to facet load.
Yes.
If my torso is going uphill, I'm going to disc load.
Sure.
So you start getting the patient to and the fourth block being the head. You get the patient to understand, because you're looking down when you go to get up, your feet are sending signals through your receptors to the pelvis saying, the ground's tilted to the left, the ground's tilted to the right, it's level, it's downhill, uphill. And your pelvis is going to react to what these sensors do. And then your torso is going to react to what your pelvis is doing.
Yeah.
So, and then your head's going to pretty much follow the pelvis. So if I'm working at a computer and I'm starting off like this, well, my eyes are going to acclimate to that screen. So what they're going to do is they're going to move my head more forward to the screen, and I'll stay here for a while. And then they're going to acclimate and move me more forward. So now I'm in this folded position for hours and hours throughout the day.
Yes.
So it's really talking to a patient about, here's what we could agree on. Here's what you could relate to. And as soon as you get them going into agreement with you, you're not a salesperson. You're a doctor explaining what's going on, and they're going, that's me.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yes.
And then you also explain, mechanically we're from the ground up, but neurologically, our eyes have to align with that horizon line. So if my eyes are lining like this, I have to tilt my head. So neurologically, we work from the eyes down or the brain down. So it's what's contracting, what's connecting, and what's controlling. The 3 C's. So my muscles are contracting, my soft tissue and bones are connecting, or my connective tissue and fascia and bones and ligaments are connecting, and my neurological system is controlling.
Yeah.
And see, as I'm just talking here with you, I can see you sitting there saying, this makes sense.
Absolutely.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And as long as you're making sense to that person, you don't have a sale. You have a connection.
Yeah.
So I stopped being a salesperson a long time ago.
Nice. That makes total sense. Absolutely. Interesting. So Okay, great. And then how's things been over the last, with everything that we're going through now in the world? How has COVID-19 impacted your business, and how have you had to adjust?
Well, at first my business, I've stayed open throughout the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
I know that it's been a source of contention within our own profession. Some states said we were essential, some said we weren't. Like I said, I graduated '84, and we just won the McMillan case. I said to myself, my forefathers went to jail. If I have to go to jail, so be it.
Mm.
I'm staying open for my patients, A, to take the stress load off the ERs and the urgent cares, because my patients don't need to go there if they know I'm open.
Yeah.
And secondly, hey, what are they going to do? Take my license away? I've been in practice 36 years. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful journey. I'm here for my patients.
Mm.
So I had the mask. We did the sanitation. If I got people that said they were COVID, they had tested COVID positive, went through the quarantine. I'm lucky. I have a parking lot out back. I just moved one of my portable tables out to the parking lot, and I treated them out in the back, pretty much how they're doing haircuts. I was lucky. California decided they're essential. But no, my original thought was, hey, if I have to get arrested or shut down, so be it. But this is me. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I had about 2 months of downtime where it went from, like I said, I see 5 or 6 people, spend 45 minutes. I would have days with 0 to 1 to 3. And that lasted about 2 months, and people found out I was open. And so it just came right back. I still do all the sanitary measures, the mask, the hand sanitizer, the Lysol sprays, etc. Um, I think my biggest problem, at least, is somebody who's been in the healthcare industry since 1973, when I started out as an orderly. This is the first time I'm dealing with confusion more than the virus. Um, People don't know what to believe. When a doctor prescribes something, and I don't care if people say, well, why didn't you become a real doctor? Well, because nobody offers a degree that's a real doctor degree. You're an MD, you're a DC. My path is chiropractic, but I'm a doctor. So that's always been my attitude and my approach. But basically, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought defending our real doctor status. Um, but I was seeing about 5 or 6 people a day. I'm
Yeah.
back up to that. People are saying, I don't know what to believe. And when a doctor sits there and I say, this is what I'm prescribing for you, what I'm recommending for you, that's because I have a connection. I've done a history, I've done a physical. If there's diagnostics that needed to be made. So when politicians and media start talking about hydroxy and all these other things, it's not your place.
Mm.
That's the place between the doctor and the patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I have patients dealing with that are more confused, dealing with fear, and don't know what to believe because it's just versing. This should have been kept within the healthcare professions. The doctors handling it the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, it's not to be political one way or another, but both the politics and the media should have just kept their nose clean and stayed out of what we do as a profession.
Yeah.
And I don't care what your pathway is, acupuncture, chiropractic, medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It's all between us and the patient. So that's how it's affected me.
Yes. Okay. And then just to wrap us up, Richard, is there anything that you would suggest to someone who's maybe just getting started, or they want to get their practice, their clinic, their business to the next level? What would you say to them?
Well, you have mentors around you all the time. I think, and I'm going to give a shameless plug if you don't mind, but
Go ahead.
this is what's worked for me. Um, I love music. I've been a guitarist since I'm 8 or 9 years old. I love playing guitar. And I noticed that some friends of mine were sitting there with coming up with a song. And then a few days later, Dave Matthews had a song that sounded just like the one they were coming up with. And a couple of days later, another band had a song just like Dave Matthews' song. So I realized there's thoughts or concepts or ideas that are out in the universe that we tap into.
Mm.
And then it's up to us to either say, well, I want to apply action to it and manifest it, or, hey, I'm going to let that one slide. So when I was working with the roller derby, and the women would have to wear these braces that had the metal in it and had the hinge. So I said, that's terrible. What if you drive that metal into the skater, or the skater drives the metal into you? And so I started looking at knee braces and noticed that nobody was following anatomy. So I wound up creating a knee brace based on concepts I learned from art, where we actually layer it, and it'll notice this has where the hamstrings come around and insert. Here's your ACL. Cross it around in the back. Sorry, it got a little twisted. There's the PCL. So we can tap into thoughts that are in the universe. I said I was working on a frozen shoulder, and I wanted to do IASTM tools and ultrasound. So I was getting the heat and the superficial, or the deep and the superficial at the same time. So I wound up coming up with a prototype, and I introduced it to Mettler Electronics. And we now have the Sana tool, where you'll be able to do ultrasound and your IASTM, and now turn it into an active form of therapy versus a passive, and just let it sit there and have them go through that. So there are ideas out there. And if you're a new student or a new graduate, look at the colleagues you're working with. Go to the CCA or whatever your state meetings are. Mine's the California Chiropractic Association, the American Chiropractic. Get to know colleagues out in your field. We've all got pieces that we're willing to share. Everybody loves teaching to a certain, that's what we do. That's doctorate. So yeah, drop that, I'm a graduate, I know what I'm doing. It's a business. You could be the best doctor, but if you're not taking up the tidbits of business, you're going to fail.
Yeah, dead right. Yeah. Oh,
so that would be my advice.
Great. Oh, thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. It was great to speak to you and learn your history. So thank you very much.
Luke, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And you have a great day.
You too.